your Section 3 Class B champions.
How are we doing today? Feeling good? Continue to work. Awesome day, guys. Yeah. We really thrive in Blue Pride, and one of the ways that we're working with students in regards to character development in our community is through the 7 Habits. That started as a grassroots movement here at the elementary school a couple of years ago, with 3-5 taking on the 7 Habits this past year. We've also trained multiple staff members.
Nice of you, Mrs. Carlson. Oh, that's what I think.
And we make that a priority to train our folks within the 7 Habits, because not only is it a cultural change and a cultural shift movement, but it's also a personal shift in movement.
This is my 25th year teaching, and as the years go by, I'm really noticing that one of the most very important things that I can do for my students is provide them early intervention, and having a pre-K program is allowing me to do that in a way I haven't been able to do it before. They're learning curriculum that's given to us by the state. They will have such a foundation when they go into kindergarten. Say it out loud. Find the word the. Awesome. Job. D like Diana. Nice. They're learning to be social. They're learning to interact. They're learning to have good character traits. They're following the routines of the school and knowing that they're part of a community that they're important in.
I think Homer's a really unique district in many facets. It has a very strong instructional program. It has a strong community of support. Right here. Our faculty are truly caring about each child and are focused around the instructional program and how we can improve the services that we provide to every kid in the district.
Yeah, I get that. Did you get that part? Yeah, and it's and we think that he also possibly got poisoned.
Yeah, technology is a really strong program at the Homer Central School District. We have a one-to-one Chromebook program that begins in our intermediate school in the 3rd grade and extends all the way into our high school, where students actually take the devices home with them.
Your grades are up to date in School Tool, and
Tech Buddies came up just recently, and my guidance counselor came up to me and since I do the computer technology class through OC and BOCES, she thought I would be interested, and I was. It was for a multi-purpose skills class for the 6th graders, where I would go now every day and teach them how to like use Google Classroom, Google Docs, and different like shortcuts, teach them how to like do like bulleted lists or format headers.
Fantastic, guys. Great job with your keyboarding.
I just learned how to be more interactive with like lower kids and just help them out. Not lower kids, but lower grade kids. Just help them out, learn how to speak with them and connect with them.
Here we go. Eyes are good? All right. 1 E and a 3 E and a 4. 1 E
One and 2 and 3 and 4 and say that with me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and...
My lord, I have remembrances of yours that I have longed to redeliver. I pray you now receive them.
No, not I. I never gave you aught.
What are the new dreams that the community has for their children? I describe a very traditional, or what I see as a very traditional viewpoint of schools by community, and yet I think we have a fairly forward-thinking community that, times are changing and we need that support. I get to look out my office window every day and look at a beautiful new music edition. It is amazing to stand in new spaces that the community had made a commitment to keep our students, on the edge of the newest of facilities. And that same commitment's been there, whether it's technology, programming. That belief is there. So I think it's important to make those connections with the folks with the staff members and people in the community, parents, to understand really what are those things that are the future for home.
One of the strengths of the Homer Central School District is how we have embraced the use of technology in our pre-K through 12 instructional program. We've provided some professional development for teachers as they begin to see how we can truly leverage the world of resources that our students have in front of them and at their fingertips and on their devices and in their pockets. So what's most important in Homer is our sense of Blue Pride. And Blue Pride extends from everything we do, from the classroom and outside into the community. We've come up with an acronym, so PRIDE actually stands for Partnerships, Respect, Integrity, and Diversity. We have a strong character education program in our elementary school that's building on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Success. So what we do here in Homer is really approach education from the whole child perspective. And it's not only just the whole child, but it's the whole community, and it's us as a school community. The Homer School District is truly about the whole child. And we support the whole child by what we do as a school community and how we behave and interact. Some of the things that we've done is actually begun training all of our staff members in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. The 7 Habits to Success have become a foundation or a pillar of the work that we do here in the district. We have over 90 staff members who've now been trained in that, and we've begun building our character education program around that as well. As students become citizens and become better people, it really creates a better community, and it really is going to be taking Homer and taking our students into their lives and into the next generation.
Are still there in case you're still going. We're on to food, and
the technology has been brought up. We started with some classes having them and just using them every now and then, and now they're starting to give everyone a Chromebook, so they weren't just like everyone have them, it was just brought up. What I want to do in the future is with computers, more like computer forensics, and basically what I'm doing now is just learning more about computer aspects, just small and not really digging into them, but it's helping me learn more about computers so I can get into that point. Growing up, that was the church I always went to, and it was like a second home to me, so I wanted to do something for them, and so I talked to like the pastor there and figured out something we could do. And I always did the food drives with my Boy Scout troop anyways, and noticed how messy it was. With this school, I feel since it is small, we have the ability to talk with everyone, learn everyone, and everyone is able to talk with each other. Walking through town, you're most likely going to see someone you know.
I'll try to stay flat.
No, you're fine. Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
So Doug Van Etten, V-A-N space capital E-T-T-E-N.
Okay. How long have you been the principal here at Homer High School?
Those tough questions. For the last 8 years. Okay. I've been the principal, and I was fortunate enough to serve 3 years as vice principal before that. And despite being away for a couple of years as administrator, taught for nearly 10 years in the district prior to that.
So you taught in Homer?
I did. Taught here at the high school. Taught earth science, physics, driver ed. I think I taught bio 1 year.
I'm sorry.
Enough about curriculum.
No, I get very distracted.
No, welcome my world.
So you were a teacher for how long here?
Came in 95 and left, so 9 years. Taught 9 years.
Okay. And what, did you actually go to this district?
No, I'm here by choice. I'm not a native, and one of the great things about Homer is you have a lot of folks who stayed connected to the school through their connection as students, and love the community they live in. It's a beautiful place. It's great that folks realize that are able to stay. I think it says as much to those of us who come to find Homer, the strength of community, the importance of school, that you hear from natives, folks who've lived here their entire life.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things, like randomly, I just talked to 2 teachers in the hallway, and both had gone to school here and then made a decision to come back here and teach and raise their families here.
It's interesting when you look at our staffing. I taught 2 years in Auburn before coming here, and there were some unique circumstances that led to my leaving Auburn related to labor relations. There were 80 teachers laid off. It's interesting how many folks So there are some folks who've taught someplace and come to Homer, but quite often somebody who comes to Homer and stays in Homer. The superintendent hired me, talked about the fact that, you know, tenure, you know, I wouldn't hire you if I didn't have a sense that we would be offering you tenure, because a lot of times when I'm hiring you, you know, I'm at a retirement party for you, you know, years later, or people relay that. So, I mean, we're fortunate. The district's had a good deal of stability. I think with time, certainly changes in demand for teachers has impacted that a little bit. You know, we have some folks who, you know, start teaching out of Syracuse and decide to move back when jobs become available there. But we have a lot of folks who stay, and like I said, who've started here, and you know, I think of folks who retired recently, spent their entire careers at Homer, and that kind of stability really helps strengthen programs, and again, I think supports that community vision for their schools being tied to their community.
Yeah, that's definitely. So do you actually live in Homer, or do you?
I do live here in the village. We made a choice when I took the job as high school principal. I made the choice to move in the village. It's my belief that I believe in the Homer, I think, vision of community school tie. So for me to not live in the village and the district just didn't fit with who I am as an educator.
Do you have kids that come here?
I do. I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader this year. Both started as kindergartners at Homer Elementary and are now Homer Junior High School.
Sweet.
So it's been enjoyable to watch them come through the Homer K-8 system. You know, it'd be interesting to have them here at the high school.
I was going to say, so what year will they start here? 9th grade?
Next year,
Next
yeah.
year?
No, so my oldest son will start next year.
Okay. Boy, girl?
Both boys.
Both boys. Okay. So one of the things that I asked Connor, one of the students that I spoke with, is because this is a smaller school district, if he feels as though, and he may not know, but you probably would, like coming from a different school district and having worked in other places, are there opportunities that your students don't have, or do you feel as though the Homer School District is on par with larger school districts?
So we work really hard to be on par with those school districts. The reality is, for me to have identical opportunities that a larger school system might have in our region, you know, whether it's a CNS, you know, one of the city school districts like Auburn, they're not going to be identical, but we work really hard to provide for opportunities. And at some point, it's sometimes less students. As far as academic courses, that's to the student's benefit, because, you know, instead of being in an AP, you know, instead of when there's multiple sections of an AP class, there might be a section that the teachers be able to have a really close rapport with the students in that, and we'll remember them from a previous year. You know, I think of our current AP 12 teacher who was a 9th grade teacher, so I mean, that rapport is there with a number of those kids and is able to reconnect. In a larger school system, you might have that opportunity, but you're not going to have necessarily the same instructor you had at 9th grade teaching, you know, because of the number of sections. So I think, again, I think we do. I think we work hard to do a good job at that, and I think, you know, in some areas we've improved on that, you know, and others we're looking to improve.
So it seems to me that an additional benefit that you have here is that your teachers seem to be invested in the students because of the sense of community that you have. Can you speak to that at all?
Absolutely. I mean, again, you look at their involvement in the classroom and outside of the classroom, various events, whether it's, you know, it was interesting, I was in the library hearing a teacher talk to one of our music students who performed this weekend at the Des Moines Festival, you know, and another teacher talked about they went to the state cross-country final out in Wayne, which is, you know, not a long ways away, but it's a little bit of a drive. And folks, you know, the fact that we had a large turnout of people at our football game in Union Endicott, that's not a surprise. But I was encouraged and happy to hear a staff member talking to a student about being out to the state cross-countries. I mean, that's awesome. You know, and that means there's some connection, there's some sense of, I want to be a part of that moment with the student. So, you know, it's great to, I don't know as everybody always appreciates that. The benefit of being a building leader is you kind of have that step back sometimes to see those things going around. And absolutely, you know, it's difficult. You know, like I said, I've been here 11 years now. So you start to lose that. I remember what it was like when I was someplace else. But it's a special place, absolutely, in that regard. Awesome. Good people, good students, good staff, in a solid community. I'll catch myself saying it often about
It really seems like it. I mean, just from somebody that obviously isn't native to this place, but going to the Dome and watching your football team and watching the parent support was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, we opened junior high modified volleyball last night. So, you know, we had, you know, a parent talk about how many parents are there for junior high modified, 7th and 8th grade volleyball. It's amazing how, and even, you know, if we get into younger kids sporting events, that community belief in their children, just, it's not just in the school, you know, it's in a variety of, you know, not everybody's, we're a large enough community that everybody doesn't do the same one or two things. So it's interesting to see that weave itself between all those activities, whether you're talking about organizations like the Elks, whether you're looking at the fire department, you know, the rec department, Center for the Arts and programs they try to do for students in our school system. There's just that belief in what can we do to provide for opportunities for our children in our community. And I think to your earlier question about larger school, smaller school, I think that makes the difference, because we can't do everything as a school, but a lot of things happen outside of school because of the strength of the community and the opportunities the community provides. There's been talk about a swim program. We don't have a swim program, and yet within the community there's a swim program, and none of our students participate. Dance, same thing. Larger schools, I'm sure, you know, there's a greater involvement in dance. We don't have that, but again, there's opportunities for our children because of the various places that fits in the community.
Awesome. So one of the things that I like to highlight in this video is the leadership here in the district. And I know that Ted has a meeting this afternoon. I'm planning to come to the meeting and just get some, you know, kind of footage of you guys talking and collaborating. But if the new person coming in, if you could give them a snapshot of like the environment here, the leadership environment, the leadership team, what would that look like?
So being somebody who came in as a new teacher, or being somebody who came back as an administrator who knew some things of the district but was new to that, you know, I had to respect immediately because I knew a little bit about the community coming in, and again, that sense of their involvement, as well as the fact that the number of staff members who have strong ties to the community because they've been a part of the community for such a period of time. So, you know, I think making those connections early on, visibility in the community, the various groups that are out there, because again, there isn't any one group like you might have in a smaller system, and then understanding that, you know, your leadership comes from that support and belief in the school system that the community has, and working with those various groups to understand what is it. I mean, that next person's going to shape, you know, it isn't just the time span that you're here, it extends beyond with some of what a school superintendent's involved with. So, you know, I would encourage them to make sure you understand the themes of the community as you come in.
And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and if you're not comfortable answering them, that's fine. I was hoping to talk with Michael Falls, but I don't think that I was able to arrange that. Okay. So one of the, obviously, one of the good indications that a community supports their schools is by the budget pass rate. And I don't know offhand, I don't know if this is something that you know, what like a typical budget pass rate would be here.
So I can't give you an exact statistic. I will tell you, I'm trying to think of the last time we had a budget minute pass. I struggle to recall when that was. The district has had various propositions on pass. One of the early ones that I was a part of in the mid-90s was for a new high school across from the current high school, and pretty contentious. You know, I think there was a vision that leadership had, certainly as a staff member at the time, very excited and supportive of that. And I just don't think that the entire community had that vision at the time. Not that it wasn't possible either, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't realized. And so, you know, it's interesting again to think about, you know, 20 years, you know, things that are things that you see are different. Certainly technology helps us to be more connected to our communities and be able to communicate information. My sense would be 20 years ago that project would pass if we had the tools we have now, because I don't think, again, it just I look at the undertaking we just had happen here. It's so easy for us to communicate progress from day to day, current conditions. You know, I think, again, the community's been very supportive, and in those instances where they haven't been, you know, there's just been questions that either couldn't be answered, or again, it was difficult in having folks understand the full nature of the matter.
So speaking of communication, and I'm sorry I'm like taking up so much of your time.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm actually good till 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So I don't think we're going to be here till 1 o'clock.
No. But communication, like you're talking about the new ways of communicating. Are there methods that you employ here at the high school for communicating with parents, like the school messenger?
Oh, absolutely. I have not gone to, some of my colleagues use Twitter and things of that nature with social media, and that's fine. We're fortunate with the structure we have with School Messenger that, you know, we've made use of text messages that point people towards our website specific news stories. It's been interesting to get that feedback. When it first came out, we started making phone calls, and folks were like, you know, that's great, but you know, if I see the school's calling, of course I'm going to take the call, because that's the world we live in today. You don't know what that message is. So if it's something routine, you know, they're not necessarily ready to write that down or have all those facts and figures. So, you know, again, it's a learning process, and you know, it's been great to get that feedback and know how to best use the tools. There's a lot of different ways that we push that message out, though. But that's, you know, that's, like I said, it's interesting how folks have really said text messaging works for them, as long as it points back to something that's got all the facts and all the information.
Okay. I was kind of curious, just because that's what we do at the North Syracuse School District too, and you know, there have been mixed reviews about the phone calls, especially.
Well, it's just again, even if I work to talk at a very slow and deliberate pace, you know, like I said, if it's a threat where the district's putting out a message, I get why you want to make that phone call, but I think at the same point, if you can provide a written statement or written information, you're probably further ahead, because it's just, how easy is it to get information turned around? You know, again, I think that's the benefit of today's means of communication, like we were just talking about with those capital projects. That was word of mouth. So if I'm at a presentation and I misinterpret something, and I tell 20 of my friends, all of a sudden, you know, there's a problem there. Whereas, you know, that you can't change that digital print that you're reading for. You may not agree with it. That's certainly, you know, folks will dispute that, but having that to refer to is there.
Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's anything that I didn't hit that I intended to talk to you about. The community support for the projects, the vote. Oh, class size. What is your average class size here?
It varies. We're typically not more than 20. There are some classes that, because of the nature or the size of sections, we might get up to 24. On the other side of that, there are some classes, so elective classes is an example. You know, I would love to tell you, I have an AP Calc class that's got, you know, a BC class that's got 20-some students in it. Sometimes those run in the single digits. And again, that's our commitment to, if you can staff it, to make the opportunity available to kids. So, you know, there are electives like that will run small. We try to, again, not let things get below 10, but again, you have to balance that against, do you not provide the opportunity, where do you go there? So we're probably, if we average all those classes out, we're probably somewhere in the high teens. It just, it's going to vary subject to subject.
So this isn't something for the video, but
sure.
How many BOCES students do you have? Like what percentage?
Well, that varies. We're probably right now somewhere between 30 and 40%. But I have to extend that with a caveat, because when folks say that they're like, you have that many students going into the trades, you have to remember PT we probably sent 7 kids to. I just had this conversation with Ted. It's a large number, but when you look at what BOCES has done with their programming, there's some really high-end stuff that's out there for kids that are drawing our kids, and then those numbers are escalating. So PT, New Vision's environmental, health is up a little bit this year, and our trades are up. I mean, if I could get another 10 seats in welding, our kids would take it. Our kids know that, you know, if you're a hands-on guy or gal, because I've had some female students who've gotten into welding too, and I'm glad to see that. You can make a good living being a welder, and some of our toughest kids academically have that awareness of that life awareness of, hey, I kind of like this. I want to see if I'm good at it, because I can do all right by that, and I know there's places in the community I can use that. So, like I said, we're probably running between 30 and 40%, but you've got to remember that's not, again, if I were to be talking with my mother and father, they'd be, tell me more about that. It's not the programming that obviously was an opportunity for me 25, 30 years ago. It's amazing. The number of kids that are earning, concurrent credits through not just programming here, but alternative ed or through career and technical ed programs. It's phenomenal.
I think that's great that that you're willing to support that, because I really do think there are a lot of opportunities that BOCES has for students that may not fit like
the challenge for us, and again, this isn't a marketing piece, but I mean the challenge for us is you're at a time where you're on that bubble with enrollments where you've got so that there may be some impact in the size of staff and the size of district that comes from that. And that's, again, if that's where student programming drives it, so be it. I mean, ultimately, whoever the next superintendent is, if they understand that our job is for kids, and it's hard not to get to that point and not get that. If every decision is based on what's best for our students, that's easy. So sometimes those aren't easy decisions, but if that's the measure, it's hard not to support a decision that's measured by that. Again, might argue about it along the way, but once it's made, if it's what's best for kids, so we'll probably do some we'll have some shifting in staff here naturally by changing the program, and we're looking to do that too. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about the things that we're doing. It's in-house with CTE. We continue to look to ways to grow some of that. With an ag, we're just kind of dipping our toe in the water, but I see huge potential with what we can do in-house with ag and having students leave with CTE certification there. Business has kind of grown. Our engineering and architecture is kind of held. It hasn't taken off quite as we'd hoped, but again, I think some of the things that have come up against that. We continue to look at how to do that.
Have you had any New York State certified CTE programs here?
We do. We have 3. We actually have 4. We have entrepreneur management. That was our first. Then we certified pre-engineering and architecture.
Oh wow!
And they're based with Project Lead the Way out of national program out of. We connect with RIT for that, and then agriculture, agribusiness. We started last year. So.
Is that something that other school districts do? That seems new to me.
So I think we were ahead of the curve in this area. Ag, other districts are doing it because there have been traditional ag programs, and I think folks see that that's a way to help build and show the rigor and relevance of what you're doing in ag. So, I'm aware of a couple districts on that. With some of the other programs, I'm not. Although again, I hear colleagues talk about that. And I think again, there's some of that that's starting to emerge. When you look at what the state's done with graduation pathways, the CTE option there in the 4+1, I suspect there are some folks that are looking at it if they haven't already.
Okay, I'll turn this off.
I specifically moved into this district so I knew my children could be a part of this district. I think we have so much to offer and provide our students here at the elementary, in the intermediate, and the junior high, right through the high school, many opportunities that they wouldn't have in other school districts. I'm proud to be a teacher here, and I'm proud to say that my own children go to this district.
Are still there in case you're still going. We're on to food, and I'm not trying to get you guys hungry at all, but I picked out some of my favorite foods. Sorry, I don't have nachos on there or cheeseburger, but here's